Well, the new year is an opportunity for a fresh start and some good habits to create with healthy nutrition plans. So joining us now is the Director of Food and Nutrition at Good Samaritan Hospital, Richard Doscher. Richard, thank you for being with us today. Everybody's joining the gym, trying to start a new diet as the new year begins. So you must be a very popular person at this point. We're happy to have you on the show right now. So what does that mean? How can someone create a healthy nutrition plan without it just being something that lasts for a few days or a few weeks? What's a good healthy nutrition plan that can last?
Sure, absolutely. First off, thank you for having me, Father Gerard, and Happy New Year. I think before we even start talking about a diet plan, I think we need to take out that dreaded four-letter word. Diet tends to bring a ton of anxiety, stress, and thoughts of severe restriction. So we like to kind of rephrase that to say more of a healthier eating plan. What people also need to realize too, as they're embarking on this journey, is that this is it needs to be viewed as more of a marathon instead of a sprint. So at the core of it, we need to first take a look at some of our behaviors before we start to kind of dive into individual food components and healthier options. I think the first common misconception is that you do have to eat in order to lose weight. It's if we become over restrictive, tend to starve ourselves, we create certain metabolic disturbances within our body that really tends for us to lose things that we don't want to versus what we do want to lose. So we tend to lose more water weight and muscle mass, leaving us a little bit weaker. Definitely changes within mood, behavior, and some of that longevity that I was just talking about tends to kind of die off definitely within the first 3 to 6 months. I think looking at timing of meals is also important. There's a ton of research into that. So not consuming food within the first hour of waking up and at least 2 hours before bedtime. And then last but not least, taking away some of that restrictive mindset that comes along with any sort of healthier eating plan. Whether you want to phrase it as being a 90-10 rule or everything in moderation, food still plays a vital role within our lives, within our overall happiness. We need to allow room for social gatherings, being able to enjoy some of our local, favorite restaurants, family get-togethers. So we need to take away some of that. As far as some of the components of a healthier eating plan, we always like to advocate for whole foods first, so reducing one's reliance on any commercially prepared products or meals. When it comes to protein sources, again, everything in moderation, but trying to opt for more all white meat breast, cuts from both poultry, meats, and then from your beef and pork, more round or loin cuts, increasing seafood consumption. I definitely think should be a goal of everyone's for 2024. It's a great lean source of high biological value protein, especially some of our cold water fatty fishes, salmon, tuna, mackerel, herring. They also in conjunction with being a great source of protein, also has a wonderful source of omega-3 fatty acids. Some of our dairy-based products, I wouldn't go as far as a fat-free, but more of a reduced fat version of our milks, yogurts, cottage cheese, hard and soft cheeses. As far as carbohydrate intake, I would definitely try to take away carbohydrates being the main component of some of our meals and look for healthier options. So reducing your overall intake of breads, rices, pastas, and start to incorporate some more whole wheat, whole grain versions, and definitely in particular some of the ancient grains that do exist. Quinoa, farro, millet, spelt. Which leads me to my last point. I think a healthier eating plan should also try to encompass some plant-based protein options or meatless options into your daily or weekly eating routine.
Well, that was a mouthful there. There was a whole lot that you shared with us, right? So so sometimes people may be overwhelmed, and it's a question I've been asking with other guests today about different areas, but where do you start? Just give us one little simple piece of advice of where do you start? We've been spending the last few weeks eating a whole lot of carbs, fats, alcohol, sugar. Where do we start what's a good place to start?
Well, I think, again, taking what I had just kind of spoke about, taking a look at some of the behaviors that we're using towards eating. So if we're not accustomed to having, 2 to 3 meals per day, maybe 1 or 2 snacks in between, getting on a better routine, making sure that we're having adequate hydration throughout the day, focusing some of our food options on some high fiber food choices to help us feel fuller over a longer period of time. Looking to reduce the amount of added sugar in our diet by looking at some of our food labels. But I think simple steps, I think kind of analyzing what you're doing based upon some of the advice that I had just provided, and then looking to make small incremental changes. We kind of talk about that all the time. It's small steps that are eventually going to lead to bigger, lifelong, and more consistent changes, more long-term.
Is there just give me one particular food that we should be avoiding, that what just in general is just not a good thing for us to be eating?
Sure. I definitely, like I had just mentioned, added sugars. I think the FDA did a great job a couple of years ago by adding that onto our nutrition facts label, which provide a assortment of information for the consumer. But added sugars, and we've known this for years within healthcare, that this only increases one's risk for obesity, which is obviously a disease and an epidemic right now that certainly has a lot of cascaded effects as far as increasing for diabetes, cardiovascular disease. But I think focusing in on reducing the amount of added sugar into your diet. The FDA calls for about 50 grams worth of added sugar should be the upper limit, but the American Heart Association takes more of a tougher stance. So they have anywhere between 24 to 36 grams worth of added sugar, which when you really boil it down to a equivalent measurement, it's only between 6 to 9 teaspoons, which even within just a 12-ounce soft beverage or within a 12 to 20-ounce cup of coffee from your local coffee shop could equate to almost half, if not all of that amount. So definitely focus on added sugar and utilizing your nutrition facts label as being a resource on how to differentiate or come up with better options.
Well, you've shared a lot with us today, and I know you will be speaking more about creating a plan and sticking to it in a new episode of Catholic Health Stronger, together with Dr. Dave, and that's going to be happening here on the CFN on January 8th. So thank you, Richard, so much for sharing what you have with us today. We look forward to your program with Dr. Dave. Thanks for being with us today.
Very good. Thank you.